Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training. Driving over to a client's house to deliver a dog real quick and get my day started. And as usual, as I'm driving down the road, we're going to have a Yack session. I just posted on Facebook, my Facebook page, a podcast called Dog Trainers Podcast. And I'm listening to a series they did about euthanasia to behavioral problems, due to behavioral problems that are in the industry. A lot of times the industry nowadays, compared to what it was before, is dictated by the rescues and the people that are grabbing dogs and maybe have a lot more behavioral issues, and the dogs that are not getting into the grease mill where they're getting put down from the animal regs, because animal regs are also trying to use that avenue and that resource to go to rescues and things. And just all the application in regards to having the perspective coming at it from a trainer, from a trainer's sense of perspective. So Michael Ellis got into it with a couple other people, and they're having a really good roundtable for one of the first ones. And there's like a 2 or 3 part series on this subject. But it's my first look at this podcast overall. I've kind of skimmed through it to see a lot of the different people they've interviewed. And they're interviewing all the hot button people, all the internet famous dog trainers and that kind of thing. And for whatever reason, I have low numbers and nobody even knows who I am, and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm a little jealous they're not interviewing me, but at the same time, I really don't care. I've got plenty on my plate. I've been doing it for so many years that do I really care, right? Unless it's a good subject, unless I get in a room with a lot of other people that I respect, who knows, But it's an excellent podcast for somebody like me that's a professional trainer that stews in my mind, stews in subjects and perspectives, and I get into all this stuff, so I eat this stuff up. Same thing when I got first turned on to Michael Ellis's videos off of Leopold. It just, and then Forrest Mickey's Healer's Toolbox. I mean, all the stuff that I soak in has been a world of knowledge for me, because I stew in this so heavy that I can grab stuff out of it. And would an amateur be able to do that as well? Maybe not. Maybe their perspective is not, they haven't been doing it since they were 12 like I have, right? So I can take that knowledge and just, soak it up. I love it. This is the stuff that I've been living in since I've been a baby. Reading Dog Sports Magazine, which is one of the first working dog industry magazines in the market 20, 30 years ago, and a lot of you don't even know what that is, or who it was, or how it evolved, and who it got sold to, and Mike McCohen sold it to somebody else, and the history of the industry is something I've always been into, so it's kind of cool. But so for those of you that are listening to this, that follow me, that are professional trainers, definitely take advantage of that podcast. I'm pretty impressed. And the guest that I'm listening to is Michael Ellis and a couple other well-known dog trainers talking about the subject. So this is my first jump into their podcast. And I've heard the other guys, and I know who they are so much, all the internet famous people that I won't name. But we all know who they are if you're a professional who's been following this stuff for any length of time. But so I've heard their stories a million times over, so it's like a rehash every time you get onto a podcast, and you've already heard them tell their life history and their stories of how they got started. And most of them I've seen get started. So I know their evolution, and I follow them real heavy. So, and a lot of things I agree with, and some things I don't agree with. I see the evolution of who they are as a trainer, and it's interesting to me, So, but if you haven't seen it, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. It's called the Dog Trainers Podcast. Excellent podcast from what I've been able to glean so far, right? So, and I would very highly suggest that one on the euthanasia, behavioral euthanasia, right? Dogs that have major behavioral problems, because of that, they're being referred to being put down, or they end up being put down. So they're being put down for behavioral problems, which is sad, right? But we can't fix every other dog. And one of the things that Michael's pointing out is how much of a factor genetics is, right? And I think that's a big thing right now, because there's so many people going in and breeding and don't have a friggin' clue, and aren't breeding for the right reasons. I breed the type of dogs I do because that's what I get into. I love that. And but I am a factor on the industry, because some of these dogs are way too much than most people. And I try to tell people, I try to screen my people properly to make sure that those that are qualified get my dogs versus those that are unqualified, because I'm breeding for a certain type of dog and a certain purpose, right? They're not a pet, they're not a couch potato. And that's, in a general sense, most of the industry is driven by the pet quality customer that comes at us, right? But I'm not here because I'm trying to make a living. And you would, if anybody that talks to you about breeding knows that we don't make a living breeding. There ain't no way you're making a lot of money. You're just breaking even, and you're doing it because you have a passion for it, and you're trying to maybe hold back a dog or two towards your passion, right? That's what I do it for, right? So that's what breeding is all about to me. But at the same time, a lot of people think they're going to make money at it. They have no clue. There's no money in breeding. There really isn't, right? By the time you get done with all the work and you factor in your workload and you put in, time is money, right? And you put in that, and you put in all the other factors with all the vet bills and everything else you've got to do if you're going to do it right? And then you've got a string tied on you for a long time, because that person could come out of the woodwork, and if you're a responsible breeder, you've kind of committed yourself to taking those dogs back into your care again, right? To save them and keep them out of the situation. So it is what it is, but there's no money in breeding. For anybody that's been around for any length of time, we breed for a reason. We don't breed for money, we breed. But see, that's the thing. The general public watches us, and they think because we get into breeding that they want to do it. There's no money in breeding. I don't care. By the time you get done factoring all your expenses and your workload and everything else, there's a passion in breeding. That's why I do what I do. There's a passion involved with it. So, all right, I'll let you guys go. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training, signing off. Bye-bye.